When it comes to using different social networks for literacy purposes, one thing that you'll notice is that each website, each different style of social network, has their own different levels of interactivity, as well as the modality that's going to be involved. For example, this video itself is going to be hosted on YouTube, an area in which typically most of the content is done through an audio and video format, such as this video here itself. But there's also plenty of text-based interaction involved. If you look below a video on a YouTube page, if you go back to the actual YouTube link itself, you will see the opportunity to comment below, which allows reciprocal interaction right there through text if you don't have the desire to actually make a video at that time. If you take a look at the wiki that this is going to be embedded in, you'll see a lot of different text links both above, to the sides, and even images on a few different pages within the wiki itself. You've got hyperlinks, you've got a whole lot of different ways that interactivity is going to be involved, but there are different varying levels of interactivity in each section. And each different social network is very much tuned to the type of interaction that it wants to achieve. For example, let's take a look at YouTube. It's the one this video is involved with and will be hosted on, and it is all about interacting through video. That's the main focus of it. We can get the audio, we can get the video, we can get the video responses going, and there will be comments enabled below, but they won't allow someone to fully become as expressive as if they do a video response. That's the main focus, which is fantastic for this sort of purpose. If you take a look at a wiki, you can have a lot of different forms coming into play, with anyone who is actually a part of the wiki able to host it and place it along the article section in the wiki itself, which allows quite a bit of flexibility along with a lot of moderation by the teacher themselves, which I will discuss later when it comes to control and security, or at least in another section on this on my wiki here if you haven't already read that section as of yet. But it's going to be a lot of different modalities that are involved. DeviantArt, for example, is another one that I had mentioned on the homepage of my wiki here. It's very much focused on images, arts. The visual presentation of still images is a lot of its focus, even if it has entire sections for poetry, creative writing, that sort of thing on the site itself. Its major focus is the image. If you take a look at a wiki, as I mentioned before, or a blog, that's where things become interconnected. There's a lot more things that become mixed. It is what you want it to be at the time for your modality focus. You can have it as print if you're just going to write a bit of an article, or if you're going to write comments on something that you've experienced, or even something about your daily life can come into play. You can choose print to do a lot of things on it while being able to combine it with images or with video. That's one thing that can be fantastic for keeping it involved. And online, in terms of social networks, there's also very much print-focused websites, such as fanfiction sites like fanfiction.net or mediaminer.org, which are more attuned to making sure that the print is there, you can interact through that medium. It's the medium you're looking for if you're going to be using a site like that. It is straightforward. It's going to be what's involved. It's almost harkening back to the more traditional method of print literacy, although it does have the interconnectedness and the different methods of going through and actually viewing and, how shall I put it, interacting and reading the material in place here. It's much, still has the hypertext and the different links that you would have to go through in a much less linear fashion than the traditional print literacy, which also creates its uniqueness. And then there's also going to be things in play such as what most people consider the traditional social networks, or at least the very popular ones like Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, and Google+. They are the ones in which they are completely designed for social interaction of any form. You have your news feeds, your different comments, your different things that the people are going to be posting and noting about whenever they choose. It's a very different method of examination. It can be, most of them are top-down systems, so akin to print literacy, but the major difference is the fact that you're not necessarily going to be wanting to actually read everything that someone has posted on your news reel. You're going to be more interested in picking and choosing what you actually want to address, as well as perhaps producing more so than responding to other people, your moods, your feelings, different things you want to share with the world, such as, or at least your friends, such as pictures you've taken or videos you've created. There's different things that can be involved there which don't necessarily have to involve like the traditional print style things. It's more about yourself. One might almost call it a narcissistic focus, as is mentioned in the article by, let's see here, Sonia Livingston, Taking Risky Opportunities in Youthful Content Creation. But on the other hand, while it may seem narcissistic, they're also sharing it with other people. It is, yes, very much you or the individually centered, but at the same time, that's kind of how they're able to communicate. You have to bring yourself into the picture. It's a whole different way of experiencing the interaction of a different modality. And it can be definitely a bit intimidating for someone who's not necessarily used to going through these the modalities of the internet. On the other hand, it's the flexibility of the internet and the different interactions you can have through these different sites, which you need to take advantage of if you're going to teach using social network literacy. You want to get something that will let the students adapt and pick their strengths. What this means is, no, you're not always going to be able to rely strictly on print. You're not going to be able to rely strictly on the traditional methods that usually we think about when it comes to schooling. On the other hand, you're putting the agency in the hands of the students, in the hands of the kids, or even older ones like myself, who is still a student, will be experiencing. And you'll let them pick and choose what their strengths will be and how they will address the situation. And you can get some very interesting results and very different responses to what you'd normally have. And it's something that you need to take advantage of, especially because these social networks are not going to be going away. They're going to remain a part of our lives, well, for the foreseeable future.